Yo, what's good? It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. The Toronto Raptors officially have their coach, Darko Rajakovic. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm not really neither here nor there about him. We'll see. You know, most coaching hires come with a lot of positivity, a lot of people, wanting to say something nice about him, especially when he's leaving an organization. And so it's commonplace that guy's going to be like, yeah, I love him. He's great with the players. He has a lot of good X's and O's. But you know what? You really don't know until he gets there. You really don't know what his outlook is until the season gets underway. Really, until the season's over, will you have an opportunity to really assess Darko Rajakovic as a head coach in the NBA. And if we're honest, probably going to be the second season before we have a clear understanding of can he make the adjustments that we've seen from the first season. But this video isn't necessarily about Darko Rajakovic, the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors. It's more so leading us into understanding the mindset of Masai Ujiri and the direction that he sees for the Toronto Raptors moving forward. I think our answer is he's blowing it up. I did previous videos on what direction that he could go in, keeping it together, blowing it up, trying to see a little bit into next season and maybe try to figure it out. He's blowing it up. This hire means he's blowing it up. It's not a veteran coach. It's not a coach who's been to the playoffs. He's not a coach that comes with expectations for winning. He's not a coach that has proven himself that he can coach all-star players and be able to get the reins of a team with veterans who are ready to win right now and are going to be able to connect with his understanding of how to win at the playoff level. This is a guy who's never sat in the head coach seat. But what we do understand about him, and one thing that has come out of the organizations that he's come from, is that he's a great developmental coach. So what does that mean for the Toronto Raptors? They're developing. They're starting over. And considering that Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet are both 29 years old in their prime, making all-star level money, you have to start thinking this is not the direction that the Toronto Raptors are going to go in keeping two all-stars, an all-NBA player who's trying to win right now and asking them to sit through the growing pains of a new coach who has no experience in the head coaching seat. And a future where they're developing guys who never got the opportunity to prove themselves either. And so what I foresee is that the Toronto Raptors are about to shift to where they're now looking to move on from Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, which is the wise thing to do if we're honest. If we're honest. And Jakob Poeltl as well. I think he's like 27 years old. He's not going to want to stick around for a rebuild, especially if they can sign and trade him and get young assets along the way. You see, the reality is you got young guys like Scottie Barnes, Precious Achiuwa, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., all under the age of 25. Then you've got other young, unproven guys who still have a lot of skill, like a Delano Banton. You've got guys like Christian Koloko, guys that you really haven't had an opportunity to see what they bring. And with those all-stars and more than solid starting center level assets, you have the ability to be able to bring in guys who can potentially propel you further than where you've been in the past. And this is where we look to my prior videos. The Portland Trailblazers are primed for the picking, even if it's just for somebody like Anthony Simons and maybe the number 3 pick or the 23 pick in the first round, right? And if they can get a Shaedon Sharpe, wow, even better. And then you got a guy like Fred VanVleet, who's been linked to the Los Angeles Lakers, who's been linked to the Houston Rockets. Look at how many young assets they can potentially get from a young team like a Houston Rockets. Maybe a draft pick and a young athletic player like a Josh Christopher, who hasn't had the opportunity to really prove himself, right? Or Usman Garuba, who's kind of stuck in that power forward front court in Houston and not really having an opportunity, right? I think this is going to be a prime time for Masai Ujiri to work his magic and to reposition a team that surrounds Scottie Barnes with the players that are needed for a player of his talent. Now, if you go back to my prior videos, you know that I compared Scottie Barnes to Scottie Pippen. That even though he has a high end potentially as a scorer, his natural propensity is going to be as a facilitator, which means they need to look to bring in young, high level scorers who have the potential to elevate this team further on the offensive end. Because Scottie Barnes and OG Anunoby and even Gary Trent Jr. and Christian Koloko have the ability to be really dominant defenders in this league for a long time. And collectively, they will have a defensive identity. But the question mark becomes, can they bring in a scorer who can elevate them in a way that Kawhi Leonard was able to, in a way that DeMar DeRozan and Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet have not been able to. But at the end of the day, I just want to know what y'all think. Holler at me in the comment section. What do you think the direction of this team is going to be? Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. So if you stayed with me this long in the video, please feel free to subscribe. That would be dope. I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Peace.